new team will need some changes, and I think the ownership. I think that's something. Culture is something so important. I think we keep hearing it in our
Yeah.
companies. The culture in the
Culture is
company.
strategy for breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah. So the cultural fit is so important, but the owners also need to be part of that culture, which they are not in this.
What's it with so many people in the management, right?
Hmm.
Ganguly, Ponting, Amre, Watson, Agarkar. I mean, more than the players,
Okay.
there were people in the management,
Let's
right?
see next year who's the new Bakra. And new coach. Trevor Bailey is a very good coach. By India,
Yeah,
India, sorry, England white ball coach, got you the World Cup. उसको भी
yeah.
लेके आ गए, करण को भी लेके आ गए, और सोचो दोनों के दोनों like कहाँ आ गए. So I feel bad.
Hello all, and welcome to our new video on the Third Man Musings. In our last video, we reviewed that mega final of this year's IPL, which was a crazy final, right? Which went to the last ball and was the icing on the cake for such a superb IPL. Now we are excited to present to you the review series. So we'll be doing three videos where we'll be reviewing all the 10 IPL teams. We'll be covering around three teams in each video on an average. So today we plan to cover three teams, which are the bottom place teams. Basically SRH, DC, and Punjab. So we have lots to talk today. And how we'll be going about this is in terms of the format is we'll be discussing what went well, what didn't go well, and what could be something to look forward to next season. We would like to come up with some recommendations, and then we can take the discussion forward from there. So Sumit, let's get underway with our first team then, SRH.
So SRH, I think that the major achievement this team had was to snatch the wooden spoon from Delhi, because Delhi was a show shot favorite for the wooden spoon. Somehow SRH came in the end and took it from them. I think that was the only achievement they had in this IPL, ironically. And coming to more serious discussion, it was one of the teams we reviewed, and we thought it was pretty good for a top four because of the way everything was lined up, and even the experts were of the same opinion. It's really shocking how it all collapsed for them, and I think we have our reasons. We could see it through the season how it was building up. So I think we should start with what went wrong because I think that's a bigger discussion. And I think let's start with I think the batting. So they reinforced their batting with Brook and Mayank, spending around 20 crores on these two people, and having Markram as a captain. Tripathi was a reliable batsman. So these four people basically failed altogether, and they are just averaging around 250 runs in a season. And Brook, by the way, I think didn't even had 200 runs. He just had a century to back him. So I think that was the first thing that they did bank upon a good batting unit, but unfortunately nothing worked in the batting unit. So that's one very big what's wrong as per me. How about you?
Yes, Amit, I agree. I mean, if you see the stats, only one batsman who went upwards of 400 runs, right, which was Klassen. Now, you can't have a season where majority of your batters are in that 250, 300 run range, right? You need batsmen upwards of 350, 400, and so on. So that was a big one. The other one for me was the bowling. Right, SRH sides, whenever they have done well in the past, it's always been the bowling that has carried them through to the playoffs, right? And this time, even on paper, the Indian bowling was great, right? Bhuvaneshwar, Natarajan, Karthik has been, Karthik Tyagi had been impressive in the previous seasons.
Umran,
Umran Malik, who was
mm,
such a, this was supposed to be a very
breakout
important
year.
tournament for him
Mhm,
because
mhm.
for the World Cup, he could have come into contention, right, later in the year. But then, if you see that whole Indian bowling attack just looked toothless, right? Bhuvaneshwar was the only one who had some semblance of control over things, but then teams had it easy. They just had to play out his initial spell with the new ball, and then the rest were up for taking. Right? Umran Malik was very expensive, and then I think Markande was the only one who was
Bright spot, yeah.
able to control some runs and take wickets, but the others just didn't. And on most days they were either giving away big runs while bowling first, or even while chasing whatever the batsman could come up with. I think the bowlers were giving away, so I think that bowling really hurt them only. And for a majority of the games, I think Jansen was not there also, so that made it
Mm.
even more ineffective, I think. Yeah.
And I think the last part was the team culture, I would say, because right at the end, I think 2 games are remaining, and I think Eden Makram was asked why is Umran Malik not playing, and he said, "I don't know. He's a great potential bowler, and he should be playing." So that was unfortunately he wasn't very smart about that. This might cost him his captaincy. So that clearly means the team is being run by somebody who's not the captain, and for I think your biggest comparison point should be how Brook was handled versus how Stokes was handled. So Stokes initially was given a chance, then he got injured. But after that, whoever came in his place, which was Rahane actually,
Right.
he took his chance, and Stokes never came back, even though the price tag was there with him. Compare that with the Harry Brooks, who was firstly he was a middle order player. He tried, he kept failing, so they promoted him and destabilized the opening combination, which is originally supposed to be Abhishek and Mayank. So they upset a lot of combination just to accommodate Brook again and again due to the price tag. And even when they had dropped him finally, which was too late, I believe, even then in the end he's coming back. So this is like two very different approaches which clearly show that if your owner is involved, and this is our guess, I mean, because the coach is clearly not on board with the captain or the owner, so uh, it just means the testing one. You can add the last year's example with Warner, what happened with
True.
Warner as well. So combining all these factors, clearly there's something wrong there, whether the owner is too much in control and there's too much preference for the players with the price tag rather than what is actually working. I think that was one of the biggest things which came out by the end of it, because they were, I still believe, a very decent unit. They were hit with the Sundar injury. That's also one thing, but I don't think it would have made a lot of difference. Maybe they would not have got the wooden spoon. That's the only thing I can think of. But there was no batting. There was only one bright spot, and let me just say that what went well for them, only Henrik Klassen. That's it. I have nothing else I can think of, because this guy was. I don't know when he learned to play spin so well. I remember him as this dasher and very aggressive batsman, but the way he played spin was
Hmm.
incredible. It's better than most of our Indian batsmen. The way his foot movement was there, he played the spinning ball, the ease with which he was lifting and
His
hitting the
lock
shots.
sweeps are really good, right? Very good.
Yeah, and the pickup shots, very
Yeah.
like how comfortable Butler looks when he picks up the short ball from the spinner. He looked equally comfortable. So Henrik Larsson was like miles ahead, and they did not promote him. Same problem that he has to play at 405. They could have used him if he's the only one who's scoring runs for you. So that's one bright spot I can think of. That's it. But in
Right.
terms of the negatives, I think it's very muddled now all through the
And
season.
I was slightly surprised that they didn't back Glenn Phillips enough, right? He had a brilliant World Cup with New Zealand, and that spot that he plays in, that finisher role at 5-6, right, is a very critical role. And I was amazed that they didn't back such a guy, right? Because even in the few chances he got, he did decently well
Yeah,
compared to others, right?
he won that match against Rajasthan Royals when he just came back, and
True,
after that
true.
also I think he played for 1 game and then he's dropped again for
So,
Brooks, I
so
think. So
yeah,
yeah,
I think they didn't identify their strengths. Again, another person they could have probably looked to is Adil Rashid, but then I think they were already hamstrung by having to fit so many good cricketers in the team that they couldn't. And obviously, Markande proved to be a good
stepped up.
replacement for him. But yeah, Jansen at least should have got more games. Jansen and
More
Glenn
chance.
Phillips for me, had to get more games for sure.
And that is what we discussed, I think, probably in the preview, that having a foreign captain is always a problem, because if the foreign captain loses his form, dropping a captain makes a big difference to the team. It gets destabilized. So it's preferable not to have a foreign captain. I think for only RCB it worked because Faf was in Superman mode, but otherwise it's a very risky proposition. I still maintain, and it's the IPL. You should probably give chances to Indians
Right.
who can, just mushroom and become better cricketers. So next steps for SRH, they are going to go the Punjab way. I think they'll clear it out. So 20
Very
crores
likely.
worth of Mayank and Hari. Yeah, so Harry will, that'll be like what, 21 crores. That's out, and then let's see what they get. But it does not require major surgery. I still think the squad won't require major surgery. Just having the budget and getting the right players, and hopefully everyone doesn't hit the bad patch with they did. It's a rare thing. Tripathi has been very good in IPLs. But
Mhm.
this was
This was his
rare for
first
him.
bad year, I think, right?
Bad
First
idea.
bad
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So I don't see what else can they do. I think bowling is still okay. They
Hmm.
need some uh, quick foreign quick, because Fazal Farooqi was being tried, but again he's very
Yeah.
similar to your Bhuvi Natarajan. The case
Yeah.
like pace bowler, like the pace is very
Correct.
less. Right,
130
and
ish, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And back your Indian talent. I mean, I know Imran Malik went for a lot of runs, but dropping him, I think, dented his confidence even further. And he came back in the end, and he was still getting hit for his 12, 13 runs and over. So you had to give him the right role, like he was the enforcer last season. They could have used him better, or I don't think they're dropping him. I mean, I think he was retained, right? For they had weird
Yeah.
detentions. Samad and Umran, some weird detentions they had done. I remember. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this new team will need some changes, and I think the ownership. I think that's something. Culture is something so important. I think we keep hearing it in our
Yeah.
companies. The culture in the
Culture eats
company.
strategy for breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah. So the cultural fit is so important, but the owners also need to be part of that culture, which they are not in this team. It's very clear with now it's 2 years in a row, right? First it was
Right.
Warner, now it's Markram. So clearly something needs to change. If they don't,
Mm.
it'll be the same old story. So it's a missed opportunity as per me. I think they
It
should have
is.
done
It is.
better.
At least
Mm.
playoffs was the minimum for them. I mean, everybody hitting rock bottom together is unheard of, right? Usually,
I
you
don't
have
know. Yeah.
even a team which usually finishes 10th, at least has some players,
Somebody
putting in some splendid performances. Here, it was just
there's only
Klassen and
one.
nothing else. Nothing else. So,
Great. So yeah. We'll jump to the next team. So this team was supposed to be the wooden spoon holders. Then SRH said, no, we'll take this. So DC hit this weird patch of form in the middle where they actually might have been in contention if they won the last 4 or 5 together, but that was never happening. So this team again, lot of problems. Again, what went right? I will say Akshar Patel. I can only think of one thing which went well because of his batting. He was always a decent bowler. I mean, not a wicket-taking bowler, but he'll give you a good economy, bowl in the power play. It's batting which has made me his fan recently. His recent exploits in Test matches, he looks a proper batsman, like a proper top 4 batsman actually, with his skill against spin, especially. I
yeah.
think that's one thing I really find very amazing nowadays. How our Indian batters struggle against spin, and how people like Stoinis, Klassen are playing spin so much better than the Indian batters. So he basically is the main like player for me in this entire season for DC. Anything else you can think of that went well?
I can
I
think of Warner, but then Warner, ideally for us, I think he didn't get the runs at a good strike rate, right? He's
mm,
got 500 plus runs, looks great on paper, but then he didn't have impactful innings.
match
When we
winning
think of
combination.
Warner this season, you remember 50 of 40 balls, 50 of
Mm,
45 balls. Then it's virtually left to the others to make a run for it, right? And the,
mhm.
kind of batting that DC had throughout the season, they struggled. And I think the main thing for me was I think DC was one of those teams which played all its foreigners, right? I mean, usually there are 8 foreigners and teams usually juggle between five. I think
Fine.
Delhi tried all eight. They
Everything
tried
possible.
initially. They tried Marsh, Warner, Norkia, Mustafizur.
Powell.
Then they dropped
Mm,
Mustafizur. They brought in Russo. Then they dropped Russo. They brought in Pavel. Then they dropped Pavel. They brought in Salt. So there was no combination in place, so the players were all over the place, and then the Indian batters, right?
oh God.
Total everybody flopped. Prithvi Shaw flopped, Manish Pandey flopped, Ripple Patel, Lalit
Sarfraz Khan.
Yadav, Sarfraz Khan. I mean, nobody stood up, right? I think Aman Khan played in one innings, but
One or
other
two
than
innings.
that,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, other
Yeah, I
than
think
that, I
he
think
was fine.
it was a big. And the minute they lost the first 5 games, I mean, in a preview,
No,
you
no,
would remember we had clearly
uh,
said this is one team which is not making the playoffs. And the way they started their season, first 5 games, all losses, then they made up, they won their next 4 games, I remember. But then again,
mhm,
they fell off the plateau,
went
right?
for
So, um, yeah, a very dismal season for DC.
So, in terms of what else could have gone wrong, you mentioned the Indian batting, which is very apparent because if you don't have good Indian batters, you're not doing anything in the IPL. Due to which, and I think one thing which I will give them some discount for is Pant. So when you lose Pant, you lose a captain, a keeper, and a batsman. So they tried to fix that hole with the captain and batsman in Warner. So keeper wise, they tried Sarfraz Khan, who was hilarious behind the stumps. The way he kept dropping the ball, he could not squat properly. So it was a matter of time when he would be out from that role, right? Then comes this Abhishek Purel, who was decent. He took some good
Mm.
catches.
I remember he took a skyer, right? He ran all the
Uh,
way, and yeah,
and some like a long right-handed dive also I remember.
yeah,
So
yeah.
and batting was also I remember he cracked some good shots. I mean he had some potential to be used, but okay.
Mm.
So what they landed up with was the same problem I think we discussed that they had to get a foreign keeper in, which is Phil Salt. So, anyways, you have a captain in Warner. You have to get a keeper in Salt. So your two slots are gone. Then you have this love affair with Mishmash because he's Australian. So there's Ponting and there's Warner. So obviously Mishmash has to play. And what they did was they screwed up Riley Russell's
Hmm.
position. This guy's a bona fide T20 player playing all over the world, and he bats at number 3 or he opens. You are sending him at 5. So he was wasted. And ultimately, I
Yeah,
think
he
in one
was.
innings he killed which team I forgot, but it was the Dharamshala pitch. He came at 3 and he
Yeah,
finished the match in that
correct.
one innings. So that is one of the biggest things, that they were too regimented, that okay, we will play only this. Nokia was always going to be a prime bowler. Unfortunately, he
Hmm.
had to go back, he came late, so that instability was there. But the batsmen, and in the end, what were they doing? They were loading with 4 foreign batsmen and then they just played Indian bowlers because Ishant Sharma was okay, one more positive probably. Ishant Sharma, from where I don't know he came, he bowled pretty decently.
Yeah,
Knowing Ishant Sharma and how much he used to get hit, I remember
correct.
one of the few bright
I think he
spots. And
had this one last thing to prove, right? I
live
think.
song, huh?
Yeah,
Maybe WTC final audition in a very weird way, because that third
yeah.
placer slot is still a
It's
question, right?
still open.
I won't
Yeah,
be surprised. I mean, he's better than Unadkat. I mean, he should have been there instead of Unadkat at least, if anything. Maybe behind Umesh in the pecking order, but
yeah.
Unadkat, I can't believe can be ahead of Ishan. So, and one last part is the pitches. Now, Delhi people, I don't know what is this, they screw themselves only. It is that pitch was not good. I mean, the when they went to those good pitches, you could see a different Delhi side because they have proper stroke makers,
Correct.
and nor they have Chennai like spinners that you play make such bad pitches. You have great spinners. You
Hmm.
have Kuldeep who did decently, and you have Akshar who will not take wickets, but he'll restrict. But then your paces are slaughtered in
Correct.
other places. So I didn't get the strategy at all. Why couldn't they doctor the pitch a bit, if anything, to suit their team? So they have to definitely, for next season, what they can do possibly, one is talk to the pitch curator or get a new pitch curator or change the home ground. There's so many options. but, but don't play on that pitch when you have such a team. Or you take whoever CSK throws out, although
Hmm.
they don't throw anybody knowing CSK, but whoever you get them, then like, ठीक है, आप आ जाओ, take Mohit Sharma. I mean, no, Mohit Sharma won't come back in the auctions. He
Yeah,
was like a net bowler.
yeah.
So find these bowlers and then play on these bad pitches. It was very it was bad planning all over. Playing 4 foreign batters, your bowling is toothless now. Those 4 foreign batters are batting on pitches where they are not comfortable. So what is the point of foreign batters? And that boils down to your point. No Indian batter. They have to give Yash Dhul a go. He's apparently a
Hmm.
very rare talent, but he looked very deer in the headlight scenario for me, whatever I
Correct.
saw. But
Correct.
they need to harness the talent. I think this is a funny story, right? That since losing out to Kohli, they have been taking every under 19 captain
Every yeah.
because
So
they had an option and they took, I forgot who they took instead of Kohli. They had the first choice to take Kohli, right?
Pradeep Sangwan.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So I think the owner just has a PTSD for that. I think since ages, and he just take everybody who comes from
Yeah.
under 19 batter captain. So give him that go. You need to develop Indian batters, otherwise you are not doing well in the IPL. It's a foregone
Correct.
conclusion like that.
Correct.
So next steps, you think who should be out? Many
Uh,
candidates. So yeah,
I think Mitchell Marsh will be the first to go probably
God
because
knows me. Yeah.
he's not had a good history in the IPL. Plus this season, I mean, less than 200 runs, right? I think hardly 150 runs or so. So when he was
160.
bought for 9.5 crores, so when you're bought in for such a huge amount, you need to deliver. And I am now wondering if Rishabh Pant makes a comeback next season, will Warner continue?
Hmm.
Because Warner now, let's be honest, he's now what, 37, right? And he's not getting any younger. Plus, his form is now not like earlier. So, I
Hmm.
mean, yes, he did provide stability, but then in this age of slam bang T20, will Warner still make a place? I think Mukesh Kumar is one. I think to add, he impressed me. I think he has the
Hmm.
ability, and I
That
think
rhythm.
they should back him. But I think Warner and Marsh. I think
Well,
Mustafizur also probably. I mean, I don't know what value Mustafizur is also bringing to the team.
on that pitch, he does, but unfortunately, they have too many left armers. They have Sakaria, they have
I
Khalil,
know.
and they have Mustafizur. You can't play all
Yeah.
three. And even two is a bit of a overload. You
Hmm.
know who is the maximum wicket taker for Delhi Capitals, by the way?
Who?
Which match?
Oh my god.
So that speaks volumes of how your attack was also doing. So he's taken
Yeah.
12 wickets, and in one match he had taken four, I remember. And in that same match he's 60 odd also, and
Okay.
that was like the coming of Michel Marsh as usual. And then I think next match he was injured as
Okay.
usual. So then he didn't play the next few matches, and then he came back. So
Yeah.
too unreliable. I mean, you need to invest in Russo, who was bought at
Hmm.
base price. Give him the opening slot on number three, and
Hmm.
let him and make better pitches. He'll give you way more returns
Yeah.
because that's what he does all over the world. So I agree with you on the Warner part also. Whether you want to play
So
him,
probably, ideally, it should be Russo, Powell, Norkia, and
Nokia.
Salt. Probably, right? That would be the
Huh.
ideal four, I
In fact,
think.
you get a gun batter, right? In case
Hmm.
Pant is back, then you don't need a keeper batter. Salt
Hmm.
also will, again, if you're giving these pitches, Delhi
Hmm.
type pitches, he's not going to do much. But he's
Correct.
a beast in those kind of pitches. The ball comes on the bat, he just stand and deliver types, because he's done that in Pakistan also. So
Correct.
uh, definitely he should be retained, because I think he was
Correct.
again bought at base price. So keep him in the squad, but definitely go for a gun foreign batter if
Hmm.
available. I don't know. Mini auction will be very tough because most of the players won't be released. They have
Correct.
to find, and that's where the Indian talent comes. I think Shaw won't have such a horrible season again. It's a possibility, I believe. I don't know, because he looks really out of sorts. Just 150 right at the end
Correct.
when he came back. But Dhur is somebody they need to invest, and Manish Pandey they need to just
Hmm.
let him go. Like,
Yeah.
okay, because he played the weirdest things, weirdest knocks. 160 runs he scored in total, and he got
Correct.
ample balls. And then last part, Akshar Patel, he's a batter. Please play him in the
Yeah.
top four. Indian team also does the same problem. And even this team too needed him. So again, one more fun stat for you. Run scorer is David Warner, correct? Who's the second highest scorer for Delhi?
Akshar, I think. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At 283 is the second highest batter who used to bat at 7 or 6. And all these foreigners that you were loving at 3, 4, 5, they did nothing. They had barely 200 to 20 runs.
Correct.
So you need to identify whoever's playing well. Same like Klassen for SRH. You promote if somebody is doing well. Let them then be that one stop shop.
Correct.
So
No, at
again,
least when they knew at one point that they were not going to qualify, at least they could have tried that, right? I mean,
promote
once you
Dhur in
know
fact.
nothing is going to happen this season, at least to prepare for next season. And what's it with so many people in the management, right?
Hmm.
Ganguly, Ponting, Amre, Watson, Agarkar. I mean, more than the players,
Okay.
there were people in the management, right?
And I
So
can
I don't know.
totally
Maybe
imagine.
so many people also created some muddled thinking,
Yeah,
probably, right?
very good point. I think if you have Ponting and Ganguly in your dugout, I think that's enough batting.
Hmm.
If you need to teach batting, clearly nobody learned batting after these records that I'm talking about. The Akshar was your second best batter, so too many cooks spoil the broth, right? So you didn't need so many people. It's just like, okay, it's an employment guarantee scheme in IPL. Everybody gets a gig, so they are doing it. But they need to think about this. They need
Yeah.
to have accountability, because a very good point I read. Now for this batting failure, who are you going to blame, and who will be held accountable and fired? You don't know because there's so many. You can't remove everybody also, right? Because Ponting, I know, will get another run. He built that
One
culture and
last
that
year,
team.
probably, right? One
He
last year.
will. So Ganguly, Ponting, traditionally very strong personalities, both, right, as
Mm.
captains. So I can totally imagine them not syncing on a lot of things and creating issues there. So that's a very good point. The support staff also needs to be looked into.
Mm.
They don't have that owner issue that SRH had, but they have their own issues where they created too much of support staff. So yeah,
It's
uh,
it's just a closing point in a slightly humorous thing. I wish the
mm,
DC team had provided support to what their owner had done in the auction, right? He was so entertaining and,
oh, I get
had.
to raising the paddle. No,
Yeah, yeah. I
not this
just wish.
auction. You're talking about previous auction. This auction they were quieter, but
Yeah,
the previous
the
auction
previous
he
one. Yeah,
he
yeah,
raised the bar
yeah.
on
I
everything
just,
and
I
raised the
just wish
price.
they had backed him enough. Yeah, that guy is
I
too
wish
entertaining. Seriously.
he should have been in the dugout. I think he would have been
Yeah.
better than all this. He would have really screwed them left, right, center for what they
Yeah.
were doing. My
Yeah.
God. And coming to screwing themselves, I think the next team embodies that. So it's Punjab Kings. So I'll tell you the funniest thing here. So normally Punjab hits the axe on their foot or foot on the axe, whatever you want to say, and they finish at sixth. This season, I think they did well, and they were in the running right till the end, and the
Mhm.
poor guys finished at eighth. So clearly a bit of a curse on them. But I was thinking in terms of what went right. So a lot of things did go right for them. For one,
Yes.
they had a bit of a stability around them, which is
Mhm.
rare for a Punjab team because the bowling was sorted. The batters, they did not have any. So whatever they had, they used them, and then Dhawan got injured in the middle. So
Yeah, I
Dhawan
think
came
that
back.
was a turning point for them.
That
Till then,
was,
they had some momentum built up, right? After
I
that,
know, I
yeah.
know. And after that, Dhawan lost form also. So
Mm,
once he came back from injury, it wasn't the same Dhawan. All the runs were in his first 4 or 5 games.
right.
So they found a new opener. Didn't have Bairstow, so they got a Punjabi Bairstow, Simran Singh, who was just. I mean, he just used to walk down and hit everything, and it worked sometimes. One
Mm,
good innings, I remember, that 100, very
yeah,
good
yeah.
innings.
Mm.
But I 350 runs is what I understand, so it's still largely inconsistent in the overall scheme of things. Mm, I think Jitesh, that was, I
Mm.
think, the best part of this team, because now we do have somebody who should be tried. I don't know if he will be tried because it's a Punjab and not a Mumbai or a CSK or RCB. So I don't know, but I really like the look of him because this guy was batting at 5 or 6, way more difficult situations than Kishan, and he was very consistent. And the ability he had was to strike it from ball one, which was
Right.
very eye catching. So he and Livingston used to be very good combination to watch. So I was big fan of him, and I think he really last season I think this guy was discovered. He just certified his position that okay, he should be given the next chance for Indian T20 side at least, because we really struggle with these people. We have too many accumulators nowadays, right? Everybody wants to be stable. Dhoni
Right.
started it, and now Pandya does it. Rahul though was doing that since opening, and now he does it.
E-
So we need a
Expert
keeper who actually.
in first overs being made in and all that.
And so this guy at least will give you some at 5 or 6. Then he'll come and start hitting. So give him a chance. I really like the look of him. And anything else you could see like
I
good
think Shah
positive?
Rukh Khan. I think
Oh,
initially first few matches he did well, but I don't know. I just felt that they didn't back him enough. Right, he was coming in
mm-hmm.
at the latter half of the innings and getting very few balls. So
No,
nowadays in T20, that's the trend, right? You have certain players who will only play a very less number of balls for
five or
high
six more.
impact, right? But in certain,
Oh,
it doesn't work in all teams, right? I think Shah Rukh needed to be backed more, and where they lost Sumit, I feel, and I think you would agree as well, is in the
mm,
bowling, right?
yeah,
Rabada 10 plus economy rate. Akashdeep around 9.5.
mm,
Current, a certified death bowler going for more than 10 runs in over. Only
World Cup.
Cheher had an economy rate of around 8, right?
Eight-ish.
And yeah,
And they discovered Ellis by accident. I mean, he wasn't
correct.
supposed to be the good bowler. He
75
was
lakhs
paid.
in the auction, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
good like second highest wickets, and he good variation. So he actually surpassed Rabada. They
correct,
kept trying to get Rabada in, but sadly he just could not deliver in T20s.
correct,
I think that's also a problem.
correct,
RC was a bit of a surprise because I think he had some good games. Then Mumbai match, I remember he broke the stumps constantly.
correct.
He was very good in that, but somehow I think the Punjab syndrome got to him finally. He's been performing so well despite being in
Yeah.
Punjab. And Sam Curran was you wondering, वर्ल्ड कप खेल लिया, player of the tournament बन गया, पंजाब आके क्या हो जाता है? See, पहले he went to CSK
Hmm.
and then he went to World Cup. He became player of the tournament. अब वो पंजाब चला गया and he is done. So अभी वापस he'll
Oh
come in auction
God.
at 18 crores. So he must be thinking, कहाँ आ गया मैं? And I don't want so much money. I'll go to Chennai and earn lesser. It's okay. So surprisingly, he was very bad. And in the end, I think the captain also. I think I liked him as a captain. It's a very funny thing to see, but in those 3 4 matches, Dhawan was missing. Current captain with a lot of fun. There was a fun on the field. I don't know. I could feel some difference in approach and vibe of the team. They looked more competitive. But Dhawan made some very weird decisions, like bowling. I think Harpreet Brar bowled 3 overs in the last five in one of the matches, and he got slaughtered by I forgot which team it was. And Harpreet Brar is a very decent bowler, by the way. He's an
In the
RCB
middle overs,
specialist.
he's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he tonks the ball also. Very useful player to have at 7 or 8, especially with a team like Punjab, right? So they should have used him better. I think there were matches he did not bowl only; he just used to run around the field,
correct.
and I. So
Correct.
those things went wrong. I think Livingston. Okay, forgot that.
Livingston
That
was
was a
that was the biggest blow
big
for
miss.
them, right?
Yeah, he
Missing
came
a lot
late,
of games. Yeah,
and then he could not perform in some of the matches. One match I think he performed when he
yeah,
crushed the bowling, and that
correct,
was the Livingston everybody wants to see.
correct.
So they did lack, I mean, normally with this impact player rule, you would associate every team having 8 batsmen and at least 5 pure bowlers with an
Hmm.
all-rounder somewhere. Punjab was the only team after impact player who had 7 batsmen. They could not manage an 8 batsman because they didn't have any. And that's where I find demoting Shah Rukh Khan didn't make sense, because I get why Tim David is given that role because he has so many people above him who have that potential. They don't have anybody Punjab, so their most potential people were Livingston and Jitesh. So if they had combined that with say an SRK, that would have just given a spine to the middle order. But again, they didn't have a finisher. So who would play after SRK if this was a 3-4-5? Who would be a 6-7? They
True.
keep playing this Rishi Dhawan for some reason, who I think is a Punjab captain. I have a feeling in the Ranji circuit, something is up. There's some
Yeah,
connection.
yeah, I think he plays for Punjab in Ranji. But then again, Sumit, a very pertinent question is, like SRH, does Punjab also have a culture problem, right? Because you see how many captains get changed, right?
Oh
In
God,
the
lost.
recent past itself, it was Ashwin, and then it was KL Rahul, then it was Mayank Agarwal, now Shikhar Dhawan. Now we don't know if Shikhar Dhawan will get another captaincy
Mm,
gig next year. We're not sure, right?
and,
Plus, an important question for me is now, before Rahul joined LSG, the buzz was that Punjab was going to go all out for KL Rahul, right? That
mm,
they
giving
were,
X amount of money to KL.
they were ready to give him X amount of money, whatever he quoted,
Mm,
to
mm,
continue
mm.
to be captain of Punjab, but he didn't agree. Rather, he chose to go with a new franchisee altogether, right? So that
Correct.
speaks volumes that people don't want to stick in Punjab, right? Plus, I don't know whether now when teams play for CSK or MI, there is a certain pride in playing for such
Mm,
teams,
mm.
right? Or Gambhir's KKR, there was a certain pride there.
That was
But
good. Yeah.
in Punjab, I don't know, do people not feel enough pride? And because you see so many good players coming in, and then
They get ruined.
their performances become mediocre, not even average, mediocre, right? So there is something going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure what it is, but
Mm.
it needs to be fixed because out of 16 editions now, qualified for playoffs only twice. That's
2008
I
and
mean,
2014.
so
Two,
87.5% of the times they have not qualified for the playoffs.
yeah, and
So
very,
if that's not a telling stat, I don't know what is.
yeah, and I think for them it is actually very simple. I believe in a very weird way because nobody expects them to be in top four. So they should ideally let next year also be a write-off, retain a core, build that core, let them play, get the wooden spoon. It's okay. So really, today SRH has a wooden spoon, or Delhi would have, or Punjab is at 8. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, your prize money will differ based on how, where you stand in
But
the
no
table.
one
But
cares at the end of the day.
yeah, the money is not a problem for these guys, right? So rather build a core like, so MI somehow has these scouts. I don't know what they do, but they always find some rare person and they make them a star, like they could with Mandawal and Badera. Somehow Punjab and a lot of teams actually. CSK relies on the CSK model is simple, right? Any old person you come to us, it's a retirement home. We'll make you comfortable and better. So that's why I was thinking if Warner comes out, they might get Warner also. But Conway is so good, I don't know he will
Yeah,
go.
I think Conway is now, yeah,
Too good, yeah. And he's young. He's just 31. For
correct,
CSK, it's
correct.
like a youngster
He'll
teenager.
retire at CSK, I think. Yeah.
He's like a messy. They
Yeah.
do again. They hierarchy. See, it was Hussey
Mm,
before him. There was
correct.
Hussey, Watson, and now Conway. They have a very fixed template. That one foreign opener
Yeah,
experience.
Hayden,
You
if
can
you
say
remember in the olden
Hayden,
days. Yeah.
and all. And these openers play with all gears. That's one very common thing you will see.
Hmm.
They can smack it and they can play the holding game as well, which is
Correct.
required in a Chepauk pitch. So there's a method everywhere, and they fit people in the method. Punjab problem is the method is the money. मनी आया खरीदो. इट्स लाइक अ मिंत्रा सेल, राइट? ये खरीदो वो खरीदो और ज्यादा है ज्यादा पे खरीद लेंगे, कोई बात नहीं. एंड एवरी ईयर द मोस्ट एक्सपेंसिव प्लेयर इज देन थ्रोन बैक इनटू द ऑक्शन. उसका प्राइस कम हो जाता है, देन ही प्लेज विद द अदर टीम. दैट्स व्हाट दे बीन डूइंग. दे लाइक the supply chain management is very weird how they do it. So
Yeah.
I it bemuses me how you can keep doing the same thing again and again and then expect something different to happen for this franchise. I really think they should just give it 1 year a rest. Nobody expects them to win. Focus on your youngsters. You have a Jitesh, you have a Livingston, you have a Prab Simran at the opening. Dhawan, I don't know. I'm very he's
Yeah.
36, 37. I know still a decent batter, but do you brought a good question. If Dhawan is now replaced as captain, which I think will happen because it's Punjab, who do you make the captain? There's nobody. And
There's
then
no
again you'll end up,
succession pipeline.
yeah, because there's no Indian only na, to be a captain. You could have groomed
Correct.
Jitesh or a Shahrukh, you did not. And if you make a foreigner captain, again your combinations will get
Same
screwed
problem.
up.
Yeah.
One player will be fixed.
And I don't think somebody like a Livingston is captain material, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
I
too
don't.
volatile
Maybe
and it'll
when
spoil his
Bairstow
game also.
comes in, maybe make Bairstow captain. That's the only thing I can think of.
Agreed. Okay. If they retain Curran, which I doubt, because I think his market value is taken a hit thanks to Punjab. So next year, I think it'll be 12 crores, not 19, 18 and a half, whatever he got. So uh, they should go on that path. I think they have a core for once. I think they have a base to work on. Normally they don't, because at the end of every Punjab season it's like चलो तोड़ते हैं पूरी टीम को फिर से जोड़ते हैं. They have something now. I think they really should think about it
Mhm.
and let one season be a write off. It's okay. Nobody
Correct.
will care. And then do go for the 2025 season with some core there. Make smart buys and don't go for the most expensive buy. That's the problem I think with teams. I mean, see the pattern, right? Every team which fails will always throw more players into the auction, have the most money, and then they get all the overpriced players. Whereas teams like CSK would always pick just one player and go for it. And they like Stokes was their pick for some reason,
Right.
and he did not get a place. So learn these things because it's happening around you is what I'll say. They have too many examples. Like GT is doing something so similar, right? GT is
Hmm.
building a legacy like CSK mold. They are
Right.
working like that. You can see it. So try to adopt philosophies, and it's okay. It will take time, but at least you'll have a base to work from. So yeah,
Right.
I
It's not all doom and gloom, right? I still
mm,
think they have a good score. Just that they need to get their strategy right in place. Make it a
and stick to people.
yeah,
I think
yeah. Stick to people.
they have this weird commitment phobia, which is not required here at least. So, yeah,
Right.
just stick to a player, stick with them for one season, and then okay, if they fail, they fail.
Right.
Mayank, I think, is a good example. Just to wrap it up,
Hmm.
Mayank was supposed to be the successor to Rahul, and he was. And the poor guy, in his defense, batted at four to accommodate Bairstow, to so that he can open at his best position, and then he got booted out. And that was your next skipper. I know he's not playing well now for whatever reason, but you should have stuck with him for one more season. I feel so that he would have been that Indian captain you wanted, and then okay. You fail 2 seasons, you drop him. Anyways, you drop everybody after one season. So you had an
They
Indian.
should
What
have.
you
They
let
should have. Yeah, they should
so let's see next year who's the new Bakra and,
have.
and new coach. Trevor Bayliss
Hmm.
is a very good coach. Huh? By
Yeah.
India, sorry, England white ball coach got you the World Cup. उसको भी
Yeah.
लेके आ गए, करण को भी लेके आ गए और सोचो दोनों के दोनों like कहाँ आ गए. So I feel bad for them. So
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
see.
The Punjab, curse has
Syndrome.
hit them
My
as well.
God.
Yeah. So, folks, very interesting video. I think we dissected, the bottom three placed teams in great detail, and I think we have candidly called out the areas, where they did struggle, and we shared our recommendations on where they can improve next year. Do look forward to our next video. What we would request you is, please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, do let us know your thoughts on this video because we did a lot of analysis as well, and we did a lot of efforts in articulating our thoughts. Please do let us know if you liked our effort, and do look forward to our next video where we'll be covering teams that finished within four to
Middle
seventh
section.
bracket. Yeah, the middle
Yeah.
section. What they did right. Again, the same pattern. What went wrong and what they can do for next year. So please enjoy this video and please take care till we meet next time. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.